Hello everyone. In another video, we walked through how to easily scan Outlook email attachments for viruses and malware using the Cloud-Burst Virus Scan API connector in Power Automate. In this video, we're going to improve our Outlook threat profile even more by using the advanced scan iteration of our Virus Scan API. This API iteration not only scans files for millions of virus and malware signatures, but it allows you to set custom rules against hidden threats and unwanted file types. For example, this will allow you to reject an attachment just because it contains macros or HTML scripts, or even because it doesn't match a specific list of restricted file types that you're normally willing to accept. Up front, in order to use the connector action we're demonstrating in this video, you'll need to upload the Virus Scan API to Power Automate using the Open API URL specification option. Thankfully, that's really easy to do, and we created another video on this channel demonstrating that process before. Let's start off on the flow diagram page with an automated cloud flow opened up. We can get here by clicking Create and selecting the Automated Cloud Flow option. Let's search for the Outlook connector trigger called When a New Email Arrives. When we see a few relevant options below, let's select the v3 version and open it up in our diagram. As long as we have a connection with Outlook already established, we should see our main inbox show up here within the trigger step. I'm going to keep this open as my test option, but if you want to change that, you can select a more specific email folder using the folder icon on the right-hand side. Moving on, let's go ahead and click New Step below our trigger and search for the Outlook Get Attachment action. Once we find it, let's select it and begin configuring our request details. We can use the dynamic content window to select the message ID in the first field, and we can then select content labeled Attachments Attachment ID in the second field. Once we select the Attachment ID option, Power Automate will automatically wrap our action in and apply it to each control because new emails can contain multiple attachments. So this step might occur multiple times in a single flow run. Let's now incorporate our Cloud-Mersive Advanced Scan action. Let's click Add an Action within the Apply to Each control, and from there, let's click on the Custom tab to find custom connectors we've uploaded into Power Automate. I have a few test uploads saved here, so I'm selecting the one I know is correct for my purposes. I'd recommend naming your connector in a more helpful way than I did. Within our custom Virus Scan API connector actions list, let's select the first option called Advanced Scan a File for Viruses. At the top of this action, we can use the dynamic content window to incorporate the attachment content bytes into the body field, and we can then select content labeled name in the second field. Once we do that, we can go ahead and look at the long list of custom threat rules we can set against incoming file attachments. Like we mentioned earlier, this API will automatically scan files for virus and malware signatures as a baseline service, but we can now go a step further and block executables, invalid files, scripts, password-protected files, and other content security concerns. Down at the bottom, we can even supply a comma-separated list of restricted file types. For example, if we wanted to exclude all attachment types other than Microsoft Word and PDF, we could write docx followed by PDF here, separated with a comma and no spaces. Any file which didn't pass an in-depth content verification check against those file types would receive a clean result no response in the connector body. To keep the initial testing portion of our demonstration simple, let's go ahead and set the Allow HTML field to No. This means that we're trying to flag file attachments containing HTML, even though we haven't set up a condition to handle the results yet. Let's now go ahead and save our flow. Once that wraps up, let's click Test at the top of our page. Because we're doing an automated flow, Power Automate is going to wait for an email to arrive in our inbox before initiating the test. Let's go ahead and email ourselves an HTML file to make sure the configuration of our advanced virus scan action works the way we intended. Once our flow is triggered and finishes running, let's open up our advanced scan action and review the output. The first thing we should see here is a clean result response that says no at the top of our outputs. This means that a file containing viruses, malware, or content that we didn't want was detected. Now we can scroll down to our contains HTML boolean where we should see a yes response. That explains why we got the clean result no response, since none of the other content types were identified. Even if we don't elect to block these content types, they'll still be detected, and we'll see a verified file format result towards the bottom of the response body here. We can test this flow in a variety of different ways using JSON, XML, image files, object linking and embedding files, macro-enabled files, and much more. I recommend carrying out a few of these tests, and then you can apply your custom policies against any mailboxes where attachment contents are sometimes a concern. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more Power Automate tips and demonstrations in the near future.